Well, hello, fellow astronomers. My name is Jim Craig. I'm with Planet of Mystery Productions. And recently, somebody asked me about my workflow when it came to processing planetary images. I have a reputation for being fairly good at doing planetary images, not on a par with Damien Peach. Nobody is, but I think I do pretty well. But it hasn't always been that way. This is one of my first images of Jupiter that was taken about 11 years ago or so. And it's not much to look at. But at the time, I was really pretty happy with it. Things have improved since then, and I'm going to show my workflow, and you can judge for yourself whether or not my images have gotten any better. One of the things I try to do when I shoot these videos is I try to use open source software as much as I can. Now, unfortunately, not all of this is cross-platform. This is on a Windows computer, but I had done a version of Jupyter before that used a piece of commercial software, and I have since found an open source piece of software that works about as well. But you won't have to pay the $85 to $100 that I paid for the piece of software that I used. But I'll put links to all of the software that I use in this tutorial down below. So let's get started with a piece of software called Autostakkert. And Autostakkert does just that. It takes your images and it stacks them. Now, I always start by shooting video. And I shoot 16-bit video that's called SER. And 16-bit is good to use because 8-bit video will give you about 16 million colors, which seems like an awful lot. But when you're shooting with SER and 16-bit, you have over 2 trillion levels of color to work with. And it's a lot more forgiving. So always try to shoot 16-bit, whether you're shooting planets or deep sky. So we're just going to drag this into Autostakkert. And as you can see, that image isn't much to look at. And we can play a video. I play it back, and you can see the video kind of, as you watch it going by, it looks a little better because you can't see all of the individual frames being a mess. And this is about a 4-minute video that I shot, which is about as long as you want to shoot when you're shooting the planets, because the planets rotate, and that will add a blur to it. But as you can see, it's 15,090 frames, and we're going to use about 80% of those, a little over 12,000 frames, to make our final image. So first we need to analyze it, and this doesn't take a terribly long time. So we click Analyze. And the analysis is done. Now we have to tell it to set up alignment points. And fortunately, you can make Autostakkert do it automatically. I picked the smallest alignment point grid that I can. If I wanted to, I could manual draw and click a bunch in, but instead we're just going to put a place AP grid, and it has done so. Now we're going to hit stack, and this part takes a while. So I'm going to hit stack. I'm going to pause the video, and then we'll come back after it's finished stacking. This takes about 4 minutes, and you don't want to watch that. And it's done. As you can see, it took a little over 3 minutes to do that stacking, plus the other things it had to do. You'll also notice that we got a new file folder here, and a little pop-up here. Ignore that. In fact, we're going to ignore something else in a moment. But if we open up this file folder, we have a stacked picture of Jupiter. Again, doesn't look like much yet, but give it a moment. We can close Autostakkert now. And the next piece of software we're going to open is called GraXpert. Now, GraXpert is usually used to remove gradients from deep sky astrophotos, but the newest versions of it have a denoising algorithm. It's an artificial intelligence denoiser. You want to get release umbrial or better. We're going to load the image. And it will not turn out this large. You can go to over here to advanced and you tell it which denoising AI model you want. I have the most recent one, 3.0.2. So I can close that again. Click the plus on denoising. I like to set the denoise strength to 0.8 and tell it to denoise the image. And this only takes about 10 seconds or so. Not even that. And you won't notice anything here, but in the next step, if you don't do it, you would notice it. And something I did kind of dumb earlier, I forgot to do. You have to save it. I save it as a 16-bit TIFF, hit Save Processed, and I will save it in that same directory. So now we can close GraXpert. The next piece of software we're going to open up is called Registax, and it automatically opened the first version of Jupyter before we denoised it, and I don't know how to turn that off. So what we'll do is we'll go Select, and we're going to tell it to open the one that's GraXpert. It will ask if we want to stretch intensity levels. We'll tell it yes. And that's not a bad looking image. It's a little bit yellow. So I like to use the RGB balance. And you can see the blue is down here. So it's going to bring that blue up. So hit auto balance. And I find those colors to be a lot more pleasing. Now this part is a little bit art, a little bit science, and a little bit of your personal taste. We're going to use the wavelets. I pick dyadic. Make sure that the wavelet filters on Gaussian. And I start at the top and work my way down. I generally only use like the first 2 or 3 at the most. So I take this all the way up, and you can already see a difference, but I want to apply that a little bit more. So I'm going to take that to 1.5. And that would be an acceptable image to me. Now there's a little bit of noise in it, so I'm going to take that to 0.14. That will take out some of the noise that it adds. And we'll bring this up about halfway to about 50%, maybe a little bit more. And we can add a little bit of the third wavelet. Don't want to go too much. And that's ready for the next step. Now, one thing that I can do before we go on is I can actually do a little bit more denoising because noise is the enemy here. And if I do that around 6:15, now click Do All, Save Image. I'm going to go to the main directory there, and I'm going to call this Jupyter Tutorial. And that's saved. So we can now close Registax. We'll get that Jupyter Tutorial image. And the way my computer is set up, if I double click on this, it'll automatically open up GIMP, which is the new image manipulation program. And again, I'm going to have links to all of these down below. So let's double click on that. And it's open. One of the first things I want to do is, I don't know if you can see it here. We're going to zoom in here. Down in this corner, I've got the moon Callisto, and I want to bring that out a little bit. So I am going to put a little box around that, come up to my colors, levels, and I'm going to use the center pointer to help bring that up a bit, but I don't want the black to turn gray. So I'm going to take the black and bring it up a little bit. I want it just enough where I can see it. Click OK. Then I'm going to use the magic wand, which you use to pick one color. I'm going to set that to 20 because I want it to pick everything except the planet and the moon. And I like to just put black in there, and that gets rid of any artifacts that may be in the background. So again, let's hit Control-Shift-A to get rid of the selection. Zoom back out. And finally, I go to Enhance, go to Unsharp Mask, and I split the view so I can compare before and after. And it really shows up over here on the great red spot and all the little areas around it, or this little white spot up here. Bring that up a bit, but not too much. So you can go crazy with it and get, but to me, that looks awful. Bring that up to about, yeah, I've got 0.88. That will do. And as far as I'm concerned, that image of Jupiter is finished. The only thing left to do is to save it, and I will just overwrite it. You can enlarge it a little bit, but of course, when you enlarge it, you bring out any of the noise. I mean, you can see there's still some noise in there. There is no perfect astrophoto of Jupiter, but I'm fairly happy with that. I hope you found this useful. Give it a try. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. If you liked what you saw, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, consider subscribing. Once again, this is Jim Craig with Planet of Mystery Productions, and I hope you get out there and you can take some pictures of some really gorgeous stuff out there. So long.